Hello. You guys may know me as Chris Ridgeway. I've decided to do a little bit of dramatic reading now and then for practice. Without further ado, here we go.
As he was about to fly away, a spear of diamond pierced his leg and dragged him down on a chain. He looked down and saw his attacker, Ronin, with a twisted grin on his face. He did lift his hand and he forced the power of the Carthaginian, to enter his body. Rohan laughed loudly as his own body did begin to transform. His skin turned grey and his hair as silvery as a mirror. He then rushed upward at Cepheus and did draw his sword. Cepheus summoned the sword of Harn once more, and he cut the chain that held him, and then yanked the spear out of his leg, which allowed the skin and tissue to reform. And it all in time to defend against Rohan's first strike with a spearhead. "I'll kill you this time, Martok," Rohan said. "Mark my words. Even if it destroys me, you will never win," Cepheus said. "Magrid will never acknowledge you as his superior. You will die at his hand." "Nonsense," Rohan said. "Once I destroy you, the power I will obtain from your body will give me absolute control over him. And a turn's power trump a nocturne's power," Cepheus said he. "Filling your body with this power will have that nocturne in your body will destroy you." "Ha!" Rohan said, pushing him back with his sword. "The warnings you spout are lies! Elder Magrid has told me so! His words are law!" "Magrid is using you," Cepheus said he, "defending against the next strike. His book is one of the most highly guarded books. Anything he says will happen, and will indeed happen. The Book of Law is his." "More drivel from a hopeless fool posing as an immortal," Rohan said he. "I suppose your precious Sakura told you of this." "It was your sister, actually," Cepheus said as he smiled with the troll face. "Kenji, you need to stop while you still can."
For a moment, the malice in Rohan's eyes did recede. Just as it did, a voice called out to Rohan. It was Elder Magrid, who was floated in the air behind him. He was a young man in his 20s who had flowing white hair, and his robes were as black.
"Enough of this foolish banter," he said. "Finish him, Rohan, and I will give you a reward befitting your greatness." Cepheus saw a glow coming from Magrid's chest. It must be the book, he thought. Nothing else could produce such a light. Cepheus grinned, did he? An idea forming in his head. "Hey, Magrid," Cepheus said. "Do you think he can win?" "I don't expect him to," Magrid said he. "But he won't stop until he's defeated. That much I know to be true." The book glowed faintly again, and then Cepheus did say, "That's all I needed to hear," for he cut Rohan down after parrying his sword. Rohan gasped, and then began to fall, screaming in anguish as he plummeted to the ground. Magrid chuckled cruelly. "As clever as they say, Mr. Martok," Magrid said. "That was indeed clever of you to turn the Book of Law power on your immediate foe. But you will not live much longer, I will see to that." "I'm flattered," Cepheus said. "But how's about throwing away Cheetah's Digest and showing me what you're really made of, you chicken shit?" "The world's greatest cheater is asking me to fight fairly?" Magrid asked. "Ha! I think not, Martok! Not ever for you," said he. Once again, the book glowed. Magrid took it out and fired magic missiles at his command, which Cepheus dodged. Magrid then commanded the sea of lava beneath them to rise, and then began transforming himself into a god with his power. With this power I shall destroy you, he said, his voice booming deeply. His form began to glow and warped into a giant fiery pillar that touched the sky with lava oozing out of every pore. It spiraled around his body as he grew long, flowing red hair, his eyes turning as red as his hair, which became flames, and his black robes, shredded as his large muscular form, was clad in silk robes that flowed like water in the hot upward air current. The spiraling lava around his body began a tall crystal tower, which continued to expand outward at a rapid pace. Cepheus landed on it, and then his chosen team also dropped out of the sky by rope. Carmen and Alfina were the first to strike, Alfina lashing out with a powerful flame spell, but Magrid deflected the spell with ease. Cameron lashed out with his sword, as did the Lupus twins, but they were knocked away by Magrid's quick hands, which were as hard as diamond. The crystal pillars at the top of the tower shattered as the boys hit them. The Bryan sisters each charged their swords with magic and flung spells at Magrid, but they disappeared as they touched his body. Magrid then snapped his fingers, locking their bodies in a spell of paralysis. Cepheus then engaged in a punching match with Magrid in the midst of the chaos, but was soon knocked back. And then Jessica showed herself like a goddess from another dimension. She landed with grace and struck like a wild tiger. 15 magic spell cards firing powerful spells all at once reflected back upon her. But Jessica swiftly dodged all of the rebounded spells and then fired 15 more with 5 extra in succession of the last volley in between dodging the rebounding spells. But she still failed as Magrid deflected them, and then Magrid's fingers extended at her, stabbing through her limbs as easily as cutting butter with a hot steel knife. She cried out as he lifted her above the rest of them. "So we meet again, Mr. Forrest," Magrid said. "Let me guess, you thought I had been defeated, but now you don't look so sure. I'll rip you apart in front of your beloved comrades, right here and now." Surely as he said it, he began pulling. She gasped and screamed in pain as he pulled, feeling each and every painful sensation as her legs and arms began gradually separating from her body. Just when Cepheus thought he was about to lose her forever, a flash of steel cut through Magrid's elongated fingers, and blood sprayed into the air as he screamed in pain, with his fingers shrank back and regrew. As Jessica dropped to the floor, she cried loudly. Cepheus went to her, pulled the grotesque remains of Magrid's fingers out of her arms and legs, and pulled her to the side. Magrid was still loudly cursing as Cepheus looked to see who Jessica's rescuer was. Ironically, the one person he never expected to show his face again. Rohan. He looked at Cepheus and then glared at Magrid, who was fumbling for the book to attempt to restore himself. Rohan then approached him and glared down on him as though Magrid was shit under his boot heel. Rohan raised his katana and then pointed the tip downward at Magrid's heart. "You don't deserve such power," said he. "You will not die by his hand, but by the hand of the ones you betray." With that, Rohan drove his blade all the way through the book and Magrid's heart. The Book of Law turned to dust, and the crystal tower stopped forming. Magrid slumped to the ground, and Rohan pulled his katana from the deranged magic user's chest. He then looked into Cepheus' direction. "Martok," said he, Do me a favor, will ya? Take a fucking holiday for once in your pathetic life. I'm through trying to kill you. Right, Saphius, said he. Rohan dropped his katana and then fell to his knees and spat out blood. His body was overtaxed from decades of use and no sleep, and he knew it all too well. I'm dying, Saphius, and there's no stopping it, he said. But I want you to let Rey know something from me. She's always been the best sister in the world. Tell her to find a husband and settle down. Tell her Kinji said this. And then it was done, as Bryan closed his book and said to himself, I have completed my work. And then he did walk into his room, surrounded by bitches and ale. And it was completed. The end.